This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Trouble, you're gonna see that your words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here, you tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here.
Place to Be Nation, Happy New Year, and welcome back to another episode of Extreme Resurrection, where tonight, me and my co-host Steve Riddle, we are going to be entering 2008. We're saying goodbye to 2007, and we are entering 2008. But Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back for another episode, and yeah, kind of fitting. We enter a new year in real time here. Of course, it is now 2025, and we enter a new year, like you said, for ECW.
Yeah, we've been talking about the last weeks of 2007, how SmackDown has basically merged in with ECW, the talent exchange, as Armando Estrada and Vicky Guerrero call it, and what Joey Styles calls it too. So we've been seeing a lot of SmackDown superstars come over to ECW, and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions have been also coming on to ECW as well as the Miz and John Morrison. So we're getting a lot of SmackDown talent here, and new tag teams as well, as we'll see more of them. Jimmy Yang Wang and Shannon Moore. Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been teaming up, I think, a little bit on SmackDown anyway. So yeah, just kind of getting some more exposure.
And then the weekend before this ECW show was Armageddon 2007, where it was CM Punk and Kane versus Big Daddy V and Mark Henry, and V gave CM Punk a beatdown, and I think I forget who won. I think it was Kane and CM Punk, but V gave Punk a little bit of a beatdown there.
Yeah, so actually it was actually V and Henry that won. V actually pinned Punk to win the match. Yeah.
All right, so CM Punk not having the best ending to 2007, as he gets beat at Armageddon 2007. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I have something to talk about. I have kind of something about that I want to not rant on, but just kind of say when we get to the end of the show, at the end of this particular episode, as it comes to Punk.
Okay, all righty. Yep, well, let's dive into, this is basically the last episode of ECW on in 2007, as the next week after was the episode where they do the year in review. We're live in Rochester, New York, and we kick it off with the tag team match of the Miz and John Morrison versus Jimmy Yang Wang, or is it Jimmy Wang Yang? Yeah, it's the other way around.
Wang, yeah, Jimmy Wang Yang.
Yep, got it. It's so weird. Like, it's like three first names almost, because he went by Yang in WCW. It's so weird that like if you were in a WCW watcher, you would have not known that Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore were part of two WCW tag teams and have faced off against each other in the dying days of WCW. And now they're tag teaming.
Yeah, that is a good point. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I mean, in 2000, I mean, yeah, when you think of the cruiserweights, it was basically like it was 3 count, the Young Dragons and Noble and Evan Courageous, and
they call themselves the Pitbulls. Yep.
kind of funny when you think about it.
Yeah. So we have this tag team matchup. Miz tags in Morris, pin attempts by Moore, tag to Morrison, punches by Moore, hip toss by Morrison, dropkick baseball slide by Yang, tilt-a-whirl hurricanrana to Morrison, dropkick to Miz, baseball slides countered by Miz and Morrison, tag to Shannon, backdrop and neckbreaker to Morrison. Miz pushes Shannon off the turnbuckle, slingshot into the rope by Miz, drop kick to Moore by Miz, diving elbow by Morrison, drop kick to Morrison's knee, tag to Yang, cross body to Miz on the outside, corkscrew by Moore to Morrison. Morrison delivers a round kick to Miz by accident, and Yang gives Miz a moonsault roll up for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I went 2.5. It was a really great matchup, and I always love that standing moonsault by Jimmy there.
Yeah, so these two teams had fought the previous week on 12-11 with Morrison and Miz winning. I gave that match a 2.5, and I give this one a 2.5 as well. Yeah, both teams have really come into their own as of late. Like I said, I've said before, Miz and Morrison, their chemistry is starting to continuing to grow. Still coming out separate though. I'll be interested to see when it is that they start coming out together, and come like make more of like a unified team. Moore and Yang have also really kind of grown together in chemistry, and these two teams have proven over these last 2 weeks that they have they work well together. We get two heat segments again as both Yang and then Moore end up playing face in peril. Then we get a good comeback segment and the little miscommunication there from Miz and Morrison from Miz and Morrison end up costing them the win. And yeah, it's funny in the current day, Tiffany Stratton calls her finisher the prettiest moonsault, but I gotta tell you, Yang can his moonsault's up there too in terms of beauty. I mean, and the thing about him is he gets height on his. I mean, he is like literally like when he jumps off the rope, he's like literally like up in the air for several seconds before he comes down on the guy. So it looks really, really good, and a big win for Yang and Moore getting their win back in essence from the week before. So now we have each team as a win over the other. So obviously logic states that perhaps this puts Yang and Moore in line for a title shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Yang and Moore get the win there, and we'll see what happens as we move forward with them as a tag team as well. Now we have a different matchup here. It is Shelton Benjamin versus a debuting Colin Delaney as we're heading into the Colin Delaney era here, Steve.
Yep.
Suplex by Shelton and a running buckle bomb by Shelton. And then he does the bulldog for the win. I gave this a dud. Colin Delaney is white as paste here, and he's green as grass. No offense at all. Shelton Benjamin here getting a win. I went a dud. Again, Shelton showing offense, but why isn't Shelton Benjamin the one going after CM Punk here?
Yeah, well, that's another point I want to make later. But I actually gave this half a star.
Okay.
Kind of interesting having Taz do like the pre-match interview where we get where Delaney introduces himself. He's I did look up here. He is from Rochester. That's legit. Okay. But he actually does have some experience. This wasn't like he's not just somebody they just pulled off the street. He has been around for a bit. He actually started as a commentator before going into in the ring, and he's mainly worked like in like that Northeast area. Did some stuff with like Shakara and a few other things, and actually had a few titles prior to this. Tag belts and the such, but before coming here, and yeah, we'll obviously see his saga going forward, but I get what they were going with him. They were trying to make him into like a, kind of like their version of like, what Mikey Whipwreck was in the original ECW. This lovable underdog loser who gets his ass beat week after week, but keeps coming back, and eventually the crowd starts, to sympathize with them and really starts getting behind them. But the problem here is like you said, Delaney's just so like scrawny and pasty looking, and he looks like he's 100 pounds soaking wet, and he's like the exact opposite of what you want. At least Mikey in the original ECW looked like a wrestler, whereas Delaney here just looks like a stick figure. So
Yes.
I'm interested to see how this goes. We obviously we have an idea we know where it goes, but it's going to be interesting to track it week by week. But yeah, just again, kind of an interesting way to introduce him, but in essence, just a way to give Shelton another big win.
Mm-hmm. And then Shelton gets him a microphone and he says, "Ain't nothing stopping him now." So Shelton Benjamin ends 2007 with a pinfall victory over Colin Delaney. So hopefully it's the up and up for Shelton Benjamin here on ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get another Kofi Kingston video. Kofi Kingston is coming to ECW. It is crazy. Like we always say, like it's crazy on those vignettes where Kofi Kingston is now.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought? Out of all this time, he's been what 08 to 18. So like, yeah, he's almost at that 20-year mark. He's like what 16 years in, basically.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, even if that's not counting like the time he had in like developmental
FBW, yeah. So now we have Kenny Dykstra versus Nunzio. And Kenny Dykstra comes out Victoria, and they lip lock it with a kiss. So I guess they were dating in real life. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I would assume so, right, Steve?
I guess. I don't know. This
Yeah.
I remember this pairing like very, very like sparsely, but I know they were on SmackDown together, but that's really, I don't really have much knowledge of it.
Yeah, and Nunzio comes out in an elf costume, no less.
Well, we're a week away from Christmas, so yeah.
Yeah, give him anything, he'll do it. He came out as a Dracula, as a vampire on Halloween. He'll come up as an elf for Christmas too. Clothesline to Nunzio, suplex to Nunzio, backdrop to Nunzio, a flapjack, and a diving leg drop to Nunzio for the win. I would have star and a quarter, Steve, because I really enjoyed Kenny's work. The way he hoisted himself up looked amazing, and with that leg drop at the end, like the way like he just like shot himself up and did the dive too. So I want a star and a quarter on it.
Yeah, I want a star. It was, again, another basic squash. Nunzio at this point is pure jobber to the stars. That one moment where, because at one point, Kenny takes like the bag Nunzio had and dumps all the candy canes out of it, and then Nunzio takes a backdrop onto the candy canes, which I'm sure had to hurt.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just like the grace that Kenny took, just leaping from the mat to the top rope, before hitting the leg drop. Yeah, it was great. I mean, this kid has potential, but it seems like ever since the Spirit Squad broke up, a year ago, he's been completely rudderless.
Yeah, he had like a little bit of a run with Ric Flair, and I literally thought that he got released at like the beginning of 2007, and right after that, Flair, the wrestling with Flair a little bit, but lo and behold, he's still around, Kenny Dykstra here.
Yeah, but I don't think if I remember, I don't think he lasts much longer into 2008.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Then we have highlights of MVP. He's almost like in like his baller phase here, but MVP making a mark for himself here. As our main event, we're already at our main event. It is MVP versus CM Punk. Armbar by MVP, elbow by Punk, leg scissors by Punk, a drop kick to MVP, belly to belly, and a boot to Punk. Punk misses a drop kick and another boot by MVP. Knee to Punk's face by MVP, backdrop to MVP by Punk, running knee and a bulldog, a springboard clothesline to MVP, German suplex by MVP. MVP then gets CM Punk in a tree of woe, and then he just starts beating down Punk, and the referee actually counts to 5, so it's a disqualification. Before we get to the ending segment, I gave this match 2 stars. It was going good, but I don't understand what they were trying to do here. Were they really trying to protect MVP from losing to Punk here, which was weird? You might as well have Punk go out on top in 2007 here, but MVP gets DQ'd and he just basically beats down Punk here. What did you think of it, Steve?
Yeah, I went 2 1/4. I thought it was a decent little match. They really hyped it up. Champion versus champion. And I liked the early part where they were chain wrestling on the mat, which is something you don't usually see out of either guy. I thought that was kind of interesting. MVP did get some good shine here, getting some his offense in, and then Punk with the spirited comeback. But yeah, the ending was really weird. Just because it's just weird that MVP would get disqualified like that, just beating on Punk in the corner. And like you said, I don't know why they just didn't have Punk. I mean, it's again, neither title's on the line, so it's why not just have Punk get the win here? And even if you want to, and then if you want to have MVP assault him afterwards, to set up what's going to happen, you could have done that as well. I don't think the loss would have hurt MVP that much. Just really bizarre booking here, and I've been saying it. I've said it before in a couple of the last episodes, but you figure by this point that Punk's reign is kind of on fumes at this point. He's not going in 2008 very strong as champion.
No, he is not, especially after losing at Armageddon as well. But we'll get into that when we do our review of the back half of 2007. So then MVP delivers another big boot to Punk, and then out of nowhere, here comes Chavo Guerrero, who last time on TV lost to Rey Mysterio in an I Quit match, and then he took time off, and then he just comes out of nowhere, gives Punk the 3 amigos, not consecutively, but he does give him the 3 amigos suplexes and a frog splash too. So that's how the last ECW episode of wrestling ends, with Chavo Guerrero giving the 3 amigos and the frog splash to CM Punk, Steve.
Ugh. The collective groan, because when he came out there at the end, literally no one in the crowd reacted at all. No pop, no Pete, just it was just a collective oh really, it's you we gotta see here. Yeah, so Chavo had been, you mentioned, he lost that I Quit match to Ray, and then he actually he was one of the names in that Signature Pharmacy scandal, so he got suspended for 30 days. So that's why he was gone some of the for most of that time. But yeah, they're just coming out of nowhere and attacking Punk and kind of and this is where, again, this is where my frustration is. You went to the trouble to have Punk job essentially clean the Big Daddy V at the pay-per-view, and yet V's nowhere to be found here. Are you did they just completely just drop that and just move on here to Chavo? And then, like you said, if you're not gonna go with V and want to go with somebody else, why not go with Shelton? He's been really getting himself over here, getting some momentum. Give him an opportunity. Why? And it's just so out of, I mean, at the time it seemed out of random, the fact that they brought Chavo in here. Obviously, as we go forward, we'll see that it does make a little bit of sense, but I know that, again, like I said, Chavo was literally the last guy anybody wanted to see challenge Punk for the ECW title.
Yeah, you have the golden standard Shelton Benjamin, who is really playing the heel arrogant champion, who could have beaten CM Punk at Royal Rumble for all we know and become ECW champion. I don't understand it, Steve.
Yeah, it's doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's look back on what could have been with ECW in the back half of 2007, because I don't think ECW really recovered from the Chris Benoit incident here, because if you think about it, the Benoit thing happened, John Morrison becomes ECW champion. Then we go through the whole summer of Punk, first summer of Punk versus Morrison. Morrison's name gets dragged up through those prescriptions, so he has to go away. Punk becomes ECW champion. Like I said, Morrison goes away. Then they do Punk versus Burke at Unforgiven. Then it's the championship scramble, where Tommy Dreamer loses to Big Daddy V. So we have Punk versus Big Daddy V at No Mercy. That ends in a disqualification. Then at Survivor Series, it's Punk. Actually, Cyber Sunday, it was The Miz versus CM Punk, and Punk beats The Miz. Then we go to Survivor Series 2007, where it's the triple threat match. CM Punk retains. And then in Armageddon, Big Daddy V and Mark Henry beat CM Punk and Kane. Through all of that, we also have, the end of Extreme Expose, Kelly and Balls Mahoney versus The Miz and Layla. Then we have Layla versus Kelly. Then we have these tag team matches with Balls Mahoney and Kelly versus Victoria and Kenny Dykstra. Kelly then beats Layla one time here. So a lot of flip-flopping of and let's not forget those that whole month of Kevin Thorne versus Steven Richards here.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on, and I mean, if anything, it's the second half of the year has definitely been if you had to come up with a MVP, it would be Punk, even though we've been kind of that's crapping on him, but more crapping on how he's being presented as champion. But the second half of the year was really dominated by him. Morrison has gotten some, an opportunity here to kind of stand out after being, kind of in the background earlier in the year as Johnny when he was still Johnny Nitro. Miz has really started to kind of start coming into his own as a character and as an in-ring guy. I think this team with Morrison has definitely been good for both of them because they're good characters to play off each other. We've seen, like I said, Big Daddy V kind of, get a little bit of a rebirth there with his new look and his new heel turn. But again, they clearly were lacking serious talent on ECW, hence why they started this whole, talent exchange with SmackDown to bring some of those names over to here. And it seems like they are still trying to push some other, kind of reinvigorate some guys like we've seen with Shelton. It seems like we're doing that with Yang and Moore, and I think the stark contrast. And I know, and watching that the 25th the 1225 episode, which like you said was the year in review. Think about how different things were when the year started in January, when we had Bobby Lashley as ECW champion. We were just about to kick off the ECW Originals versus New Breed feud. Punk was still on the rise. You had guys like Hardcore Holly and Snitsky and Test and everything. And then and now here we are 12 months later, and Lashley's gone. Most of the originals are gone except for Tommy, who's now pretty much a jobber to the Stars. Almost all the New Breed are gone. Like Corvan is gone. Thorne's gone. Burke's, flailing in the wind, and Stryker's kind of now, become a manager in essence. And like I said, Punk's obviously, benefited the most because he's risen from here. But yeah, just a very, very weird year for ECW throughout 2007. And, again, like you said, the Benoit situation really hampered them because it seemed like he was going to be their main guy throughout most of the year. And they obviously had to reshuffle things. I am interested to see how we go with 2008 going forward, because I know we're going to see a lot of emphasis more on young talent coming in, and it almost feels like if we'll see it way more in 09, but it definitely starts off in 08 where they almost kind of treat ECW like the modern day, like a modern day version of NXT.
Yeah, like imagine if Marcus Corvon didn't leave the WWE. He would have definitely been CM Punk's opponent if Morrison couldn't go anymore because of the suspensions there too. I really like Marcus Corvon, and it was such a shame too because he had the TNA background, and he got here, he was doing the pounce and everything, and it's just a shame really what happened.
Yeah, well, I said when we were doing those episodes that if they needed someone, if they knew what was going with Benoit, they should have had Corvon in that spot instead of Morrison, and had Corvon be the champion, and have him and Punk feud throughout the summer. I think that could have been a really good feud. It would have given Corvon a world title, a main title run, which he didn't get in TNA, which a lot of people complained about, that he should have gotten a world title run, there, but never did. And this would have, in essence, given him that. It still would have, elevated Punk, and would have let somebody like Morrison continue to kind of grow underneath. Because I think even though he definitely worked hard to get himself over, it took Morrison a while to get himself really over, and I think that he was definitely rushed to the title too quickly, and it showed early on.
Yeah, because the whole Benoit thing, and maybe they should have had CM Punk win at Night of Champions. So just the whole thing of like Benoit, the whole Benoit thing, switch everything around too. Plus, I don't think CM Punk really had a heel opponent except for Burke, where it's like Lashley had everybody. He had Hardcore Holly, Umaga, and just basically anybody he wanted, even Snitsky too, before he got drafted away to Raw and everything. So we'll see what is in store for 2008. Hopefully it's better than the ending to 2007, Steve.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Steve, we're ready too, and we're on ECW in 2008. This is January 1st, 2008. I actually remember the night before, 12/31/2007, as we'll see in the Raw recap. That was the night Ric Flair beat Triple H by disqualification due to interference by Regal. I remember watching that Raw too, saying, how are they is Triple H going to end the career of Ric Flair here tonight? And Regal took out Flair, so Flair won by disqualification.
Yeah, well, that was, of course, the big thing. Like, if the next match Flair lost, he would be forced to retire, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a recap of, we're actually live in Richmond, Virginia here tonight. We have a recap of CM Punk versus MVP and Chavo Guerrero coming out at the end. And then we haven't seen him in a while, but here comes Armando Estrada. He's out, and he introduces Chavo Guerrero. Chavo says he's glad to be back on ECW. And then CM Punk comes out. Chavo says Punk is a stepping stone. Chavo says he is going to be a champion again. He points to Punk's ECW title. Armando Estrada then says if Chavo wants to become the number one contender for the ECW title, he has to face CM Punk in a one-on-one match here tonight. So what do you think of this promo here by Chavo? And good work on Armando Estrada here.
Yeah, good work for Estrada, but again, it's just like, nobody cares about Chavo. It's just like, you know, again, it's just like, why pick him instead of somebody else that probably deserves it more.
Shelton Benjamin deserves it more. So now we have a 6-person tag. It's a mixed gender tag match here. It's John Morrison, The Miz, and Layla versus Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore and Kelly. So the Kelly versus Layla feud is still coming on, but no Balls Mahoney tonight, as Kelly is with Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore here as part of their 6-person tag team matchup. Kelly and Layla start off a clothesline by Kelly. Miz trips Kelly. Kelly slaps Morrison and a crossbody by Shannon. A clothesline by Miz, diving elbow by Morrison, neckbreaker by Shannon, tag to Yang, Hurricanrana to Miz, missile drop kick by Yang. Yang kisses Layla. Kelly spears Layla. A moonsault by Yang for the win. For this matchup, I gave it two stars. It's not that it's becoming stale, but there wasn't a whole lot like we haven't seen of the two tag teams here. And plus, Kelly and Layla really didn't add much. Layla is more of like the athlete than Kelly is too. But Yang over there playing lip lock with Layla here, Steve. So I gave it a standard 2 stars.
Yeah, I went 2 stars as well. I mean, they're mixing it up at least a little bit by putting Kelly and Layla in there, so that they're not just doing a third straight, non-title tag between the two teams. They were smart to have Kelly and Layla start off and then kind of, have their little segment, and then that pretty much is it for them. And then it's just the two teams going at it. Obviously a very shortened version of what we've seen before, because this match only went about 6 minutes. Yang doing like the little dance there with Layla before giving her a kiss was definitely a good highlight. And then again, Yang pulling out, busting out the beautiful moonsault to get the pin on Miz. So now Yang and Morrison have in essence got 2 back-to-back wins over Miz and Morrison. So now, I mean, there's no doubt in anybody's mind now that the next time these two teams meet, they have to be for the belts.
Yep. So why don't we just cut into it, because it's announced next week that it is going to be for the ECW tag team titles. It's going to be for the SmackDown tag team titles. It's going to be the Miz and Morrison versus Shannon Moore and Jimmy Wang Yang for the titles in a 15 minutes of fame match, which I like the idea, but I don't like it, because what is the point if Miz and Morrison win? If they pin Yang and Moore, it's like, okay, so you survive 15 minutes, but that doesn't make any sense. It should be that they have to win in 15 minutes or less, because if the timer runs out, they lose and Miz and Morrison retain, Steve. That's how it should be.
Yeah, well, I think they're playing up how back in the summer when Morrison was the ECW champion, who was doing like those 15 minutes of fame, like challenges with like if anyone could beat him in the 15 minutes, they would get the title shot. But here, because it's for the belts, and I think Joey did clarify too that it's basically a 15-minute Iron Man match. So whoever gets the most decisions in the 15 minutes wins. So that's okay. They do end up explaining that, like, in case anybody was curious about it.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Yeah, I forgot to pay attention to that. Good call, Steve. Thank you. So this will be a better 15 minutes of fame match than what we have seen from Morrison as well. Now we have Taz interviewing Colin Delaney again. Colin says his match with Shelton didn't go as planned. And then Colin says he wants to be a WWE superstar. And then in I would say a heel Taz move, he introduces and brings out Big Daddy V. So that's his next opponent. He's like, well, kid, here's your next opponent, Big Daddy V. So if you're wondering where Big Daddy V is, here he is now. Colin Delaney versus Big Daddy V. Chops to Delaney. Samoan drop to V. Samoan drop by V. And an elbow for the win. I gave this a dud.
I didn't. I only gave it a quarter star.
Gotcha.
Another effective squash here of Delaney, and yeah, Taz definitely sounded like a bit of a dick there. Trying to get on, kind of hype Delaney up. Like he really cares about he cares about it, and then he's like, well, here's your opponent, and out comes V, and it's like, and the look on Delaney's face when that happened was definitely priceless, and this actually felt a lot more effective than the previous week because. Shelton's a good worker, but he's not really much of a quick squash guy. Whereas here it's like this lanky guy is going against a monster heel, and this is definitely a lot more effective. Now it's following more into the Mikey Whipwreck formula, where big monster heel destroys the little guy. So. Again, kind of reestablishing V. Again, even though he should probably be the one getting the title shot against Punk since he pinned the champion at Armageddon, he ends up he ends up getting the benefit here of pretty much of destroying this kid Delaney, and we'll see. And again, we'll see where it goes from here.
Spoiler alert, Steve, it doesn't go well for Delaney next week either. I saw the preview.
Well, it doesn't go well for him for a while. It actually doesn't go well for him for a while.
Well, there you go. So he is taking on the Mikey Whipwreck rule here, as Nunzio might get some time off here for Colin Delaney to get the beatings.
Yeah.
So if you thought, you say that Shelton Benjamin is not a squash guy, but here he is in this matchup here. While it's not necessarily a squash, there's no offense by this guy. It's Shelton Benjamin versus James Curtis. I feel like we've seen James Curtis before. He might have been one of these the guys that got squashed by V the first time around or somewhere. I feel like I have heard that name before in ECW too.
Yeah, we've seen him before. We saw him a few times in October. But yeah, pretty much just there to put somebody over.
Suplex by Shelton, backbreaker to Curtis, kick to Curtis, buckle bomb by Shelton, and then the face buster for the win. I gave it a star and a quarter because I really like Shelton's work, and like that roll up kick to Curtis, and then the buckle bomb by Shelton. Like Shelton makes that move look great too, and like it's not like he's really injuring anybody like Seth Rollins did by accident. Shelton makes that move. It looks like he's making that move safe. I like the buckle bomb by Shelton, and then the face buster for the win. So I went a star and a quarter.
Yeah, I went a star. It was like I was saying about how Sean's not a good squash, not really that much of a squash guy, but yeah, he did he looked really strong here, like he's, like he has been. That was, even though he struggled to get Curtis up in the powerbomb position, he did snap off that really nice buckle bomb. And, in Rollins' defense, you got James Curtis is not like a 50-something-year-old guy that's, that hasn't wrestled in forever, like Rollins did when he inadvertently hurt Sting. So, but yeah, again, just another. Shelton has been a very consistent guy that we've seen since he's come on to ECW, and again, it just makes you question, why is he not the one getting potentially a shot at Punk for the titles? Like, he's building. Since we've seen him, he's pretty much been undefeated since we've seen him. So it's like, if anyone's got a case to be a number one contender, it's him.
Yeah, and it's so dumb that Chavo Guerrero just runs in, gives three amigos and a frog splash, and now he's getting built up to be the heel that CM Punk needs. It's like, no, he really doesn't need that.
No, he doesn't.
So we got the Raw recap. Like I said, it was Ric Flair versus Triple H, and Regal comes out, and he cost Triple H a spot at the Royal Rumble, and to keep Ric Flair's career alive too. So we'll see what happens in the fallout there. As I believe it's Raw Roulette then in 2000 and the next week on Raw too, and we'll see how that pans out for some of the superstars here. We have CM Punk versus Chavo Guerrero. If Chavo wins, he becomes number one contender. Arm drag by Punk, hip toss by Punk, cross body by Punk to Chavo, elbow to Punk's knee. Then Chavo goes to work on the knee. So CM Punk injured his knee early in the match, and Chavo is really going after it. Leg submissions by Chavo, chop block by Chavo, kicks to Chavo, drop kick by Punk, running knee and bulldog to Chavo, a Boston Crab to Punk. Punk counters the Three Amigos. Then Chavo counters the GTS. Chavo takes Punk to the outside, and then surprisingly, Chavo gets counted out, and I thought that he was actually going to pull himself back in before Punk did with the knee to become number one contender, but they weren't really ready yet to make Chavo the number one contender as he loses by countout. For this matchup, I went 2 1/4. It was good. Like, Chavo had some really good, nice offense to, really go after the knee. I like the Boston Crab. I like the counters, and, always Punk with the running knee and the bulldog. So I went 2 1/4, Steve. It was weird with the count out ending because I thought Chavo was actually going to win by count out.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4 as well. For all my, whining and complaining about why Chavo's in the spot, the guy could still go in the ring. So, I won't take that away from him. It's just that he's been gone for so long. He just feels so ice cold that, he's just thrown in here all of a sudden. But, he and Punk did work a pretty good match. I mean, and they got, almost 16 minutes, which is a lot of time for for these two. Chavo did, I'm sure, I don't know if he'd been, wrestling like on the house shows before he came back, but he didn't look too bad. If this was his first match back, obviously Punk, getting his big moves in, and the count out just felt so weird. It's like, you would figure that they would just have Chavo win just to get the title shot, but for some reason they, flip it and have Punk win by count out. But then that means at the same time that you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Chavo's probably going to use this as ammo to say, well, he didn't pin me, I should get another chance. So, so we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, I mean, if the ending was a little bit better, maybe it would have, I could have probably bumped it to 2.5. But as is, it was, still a good match, regardless of, if Chavo belongs here or not.
Yeah, so CM Punk kicks off 2008 by winning by count out. So let's see. Well, again, we're going to keep an eye on Colin Delaney. We're going to keep an eye on Shelton Benjamin. Kofi Kingston should be debuting soon, and we're going to see what happens with this feud between Chavo and CM Punk. So yeah. Well, that's gonna do it from us for covering ECW on Sci-Fi. But Steve, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
Yeah, you can usually find me over on the PTB Pop Experience with my usual shows over there. The Video Jukebox Song of the Day, Mickey Mount Rushmore, and Pop Goes the Classics. Those are still going pretty strong. Pretty much that's actually pretty much it. You can also occasionally find me over on the North-South Connection as part of Chronoso. On the most recent episode, they did a potpourri kind of covering some matches throughout March of 1990 as we continue the build to WrestleMania 6, and I took a look at a match from Primetime featuring the Genius against Coco Beware. So, kind of an interesting little match there as we, like I said, continue the build to WrestleMania 6. So, if you've not subscribed to the YouTube channel for No-So, please do so. And actually, speaking of YouTube, the PTB Pop Experience now is on YouTube, so please be sure to subscribe to that as well. Only if there's not much there as of now. The early Pop Goes the Classics are on there. The first Mickey Mount Rushmores are on there, and I think one of the newest pods that just launched, I believe trying to remember the name. I think it was a Space Odyssey or Film Odyssey 2004. Just dropped on there too. So be sure to follow all that. And of course, PTB Facebook group. If anything pops up there, that's usually where you hear something first. So that's typically where you can find me.
Thank you, Steve. And, I hope to be on more Making Mount Rushmores as 2025 kicks off. As for me, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed. I have this podcast and also Nation Invasion. I just finished up the Raw from October 1st and SmackDown from October 4th, 2001, Jeremy Nichols. That just dropped last week. Well, Kurt Angle faces Rob Van Dam in basically a winner-take-all match, because if Rob Van Dam wins, Stone Cold gets a rematch on October 8th, Monday Night Raw. But if Kurt Angle wins, he gets to face The Rock for the WCW title on that Monday Night Raw. And then we had a 6-man tag match between the Dudley Boys and Nick Patrick versus Mike Chioda, The Rock, and Chris Jericho on SmackDown. So a lot going on as the invasion continues, but I am going to take a little bit of a break from there because the Raw content for 2001 is not on Netflix yet, so I might try and bounce it back to maybe I can find old YouTube videos or something to watch Raw on there. But the last episode was with Jeremy Nichols. It was a very good episode. And then Steve, you and I, we were part of the Place to Be Nation Christmas play. You played your lovable Ted Turner, and I played the lovable Jerry Jarrett. So you can find that on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed. So that's going to do it from us here on Extreme Resurrection. He's Steve Riddle. I'm James Gruenberg, and we will see you next time.